we're limiting greenhouse emissions in the transportation sector through the U.S. government. The outline of the argument will talk about the dangers of these carbon emissions and connect it to the stimulus packet, explain some solutions, make that into an argument, and the limitations that come along with that. And so the dangers of carbon emissions. Greenhouse gases have the ability to change the world as we know it, from raising sea levels because of higher temperatures that can also lead to increased power and duration of the hurricane season. There's also threats to increase wildfires due to the higher heat and so a drier climate. There's also health problems due to air quality due to this pollution, as already seen in countries in Southeast Asia. This graph from the Center for Climate and Energy Solutions shows that 27% of carbon emissions in the US come from the transportation sector, and then 79% of emissions in the US are carbon dioxide emissions. However, the transportation industry is a big industry open to change due to technological innovations. Stimulus connection, the Haitian resilience to hurricanes connects through the power of increased hurricane season due to this heat. And urban evolutions, the peppered moth had to evolve due to the increased air pollution. All right, some solutions. One solution would be a full stop of crude oil mining. However, this would limit the amount of oil in the industry and then therefore spike oil prices and would not fare well for any economies. However, there's also a scheduled switch. You can create government incentives to switch to fuel efficient vehicles. However, this has already been done, as many people who buy electric vehicles today already get tax incentives. Another option is to pass a bill that requires car manufacturers to make a scheduled switch to electric vehicles. This switch would allow car manufacturers to develop new technologies that would allow for better cars to happen when this is required. And then another option would be alternative fuel, such as biofuel, a fuel made out of other things such as plants and animal plants. However, at the moment, this is 5.5 to 6 times more expensive than regular fuel is. And a final option is to raise fuel prices. As seen in 2022 with the fuel price spike, less people bought petroleum gas during that time and carbon emissions actually dropped. However, the solution that I've come up with is to raise fossil fuel prices, create a deadline to switch to electric vehicles, and have a monitored switch of car manufacturers to fuel efficient vehicles. The manufacturing system would allow the US government to pass laws over car manufacturers, creating a pathway for them to create more fuel efficient vehicles and therefore less emissions being emitted. Vicky Arroyo, an associate administrator for policy at the US Environmental Protection Agency, states the US DOT and automakers agreed on creating more fuel efficient light duty vehicles such as automobiles, which lead to improvement on vehicle emissions. This states that with these fuel efficient vehicles and a lighter ability, less emissions would be produced, and in the combination with this change to more fuel efficient vehicles throughout the industry, less emissions would be produced overall. This also can ease pressure on the petroleum industry, as fuel efficient vehicles use less fuel over time, and therefore petroleum does not have to produce as much, which also contributes to these emissions. Another option, and part of the solution, is to connect to a full switch to electric vehicles. However, due to the limits in technology at the moment, this ability to go through fuel efficient vehicles first, such as hybrids, would allow for that development in technology to take place, and therefore electric vehicles, when that switch does happen, would be more beneficial to society than it is right now. One thing that backs this up is the Paris Agreement. The US stated in the Paris Agreement that 33% of emissions are from the transportation industry. However, they want to reduce these emissions by 50 to 52% by 2030. Fuel efficiency in vehicles would help this, and then so it would be a fuel efficient switch by 2030, and then allow more technology to develop and have a full electric switch by 2050. However, another part of the solution is to raise the prices of fossil fuels. Emil Frankel, consultant on transportation policy and public management issues, says that higher fuel prices are currently one of the most effective ways to reduce the use of liquid petroleum, while in combination with more rigorous fuel efficiency standards. This allows the use of less less petroleum leads to less carbon production of carbon dioxide. And due to this raise, as seen in 2022, where less people actually do buy petroleum gas and less people drive, it would allow for a dropped rate of carbon emissions. Another part of this is carbon capture capabilities. ExxonMobil and BP, two large companies in the petroleum industry, have figured out a way to trap CO2 in canisters and store them underground. With these two in combination, less carbon emissions due to higher increased fuel prices and the carbon capture, it would allow for an even more increased reduction of the carbon emissions in the air. Some limitations are, however, that right now this would only apply to consumer vehicles, as the technology has not achieved levels to make like airplanes electric yet. And companies could just leave the US, as in Ford has a headquarters in the US, but to get away from these policies that are being made, they could move to another country, say Germany. This would be the case with Mercedes-Benz, who has a manufacturing plant in Alabama. However, their headquarters is in Germany, which would lead, I think, to the law not applying to them. However, with time, this technology will increase in its capabilities, and we'll be able to switch to more commercial vehicles, such as boats and planes. And the mandate over fuel efficiency switch and the complete switch to electric vehicles can apply to manufacturing plants, not the car manufacturer itself. In conclusion, the continued increase of carbon emissions will have detrimental effects to the world if not dealt with in the next decade. Cooperation by the US government and car manufacturers can take these hurdles and can overcome the problems that we are facing today to reduce carbon emissions in the sector completely. Thank you. We're excited. That's it.
Okay. What information did you need that you weren't able to find or locate?
I wasn't quite able to locate some of the total data on what the reductions would look like over time. I think if I was able to conduct research on that, it would have helped out. But I wasn't able to find what the reductions would help with in the future, as in yes, they would reduce these carbon emissions and therefore slow the increase of global temperature. However, we don't know the other beneficial effects that they would have.
And what additional questions emerged from your research, and why are these questions important?
I had come up with another question that was, I wanted to know what car manufacturers could do in this sense, because this mainly focused on the government and how the government could change, but I wanted to know how the car manufacturers could take initiative, because that would make a more global scale change faster compared to just one country at a time.
All right, thank you, Whit.